Ryan Carter gripped the steering wheel tighter as he pulled into the long driveway of the Collins family home overlooking Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. At 29, he had faced difficult software, engineering deadlines, and high-pressure presentations in Chicago, but nothing made him more nervous than meeting his girlfriend, Emma's family, for Thanksgiving weekend. He had spent nearly a year building a wonderful relationship with Emma, and now he secretly carried a diamond engagement ring hidden inside his luggage. His dream was to propose before Christmas, but first he wanted to earn the approval of the people who mattered most to her. That thought made every heartbeat feel louder than the last. Emma greeted him with a warm hug before introducing him to her parents, Margaret and David Collins. Their elegant lakeside home was filled with the comforting smell of roasted turkey, fresh bread, and homemade apple pie. Family photographs covered the living room walls, showing birthdays, graduations, vacations, and generations of smiling faces. Ryan brought flowers for Margaret and a bottle of sparkling cider for David, hoping the thoughtful gifts would make a good first impression. Everyone welcomed him kindly, sharing stories and laughter, as relatives slowly arrived from different parts of the country. Although the atmosphere felt warm and friendly, Ryan still worried about saying or doing the wrong thing. While helping set the dining table, Ryan noticed a framed photograph sitting on the fireplace mantel. It showed a young soldier standing proudly beside a smiling woman, who looked remarkably like Emma. Curious, he looked a little longer than he intended, wondering if the soldier had been Emma's grandfather. At that exact moment, Margaret turned toward him and caught him staring. Ryan immediately looked away, embarrassed by the misunderstanding. Before anyone else noticed, Margaret calmly walked over and said in a quiet voice, "Ryan, would you come with me for a minute? We need to talk." Every cheerful sound inside the house suddenly seemed to disappear from Ryan's ears. Ryan followed Margaret onto the peaceful wooden deck behind the house where the calm lake reflected the golden colors of the late afternoon sun. Cold autumn air brushed across the water as leaves drifted slowly from the surrounding maple trees. Ryan's mind raced with frightening possibilities. Had he accidentally offended someone? Did Margaret think he had been staring at her instead of the old photograph? Had Emma shared something negative about him without realizing it? Margaret remained silent for several seconds before turning to face him with a gentle expression. Her unexpected smile only confused him more, making the moment feel even more mysterious than before. Finally, Margaret spoke softly. "You're wondering why I brought you out here, aren't you?" Ryan nervously admitted that he thought he had already ruined the weekend. Margaret shook her head and one, too, quietly laughed. "No, Ryan, I noticed you weren't looking at me. You were looking at that photograph because you were curious." She explained that the soldier in the picture was Emma's older brother, Michael, who had passed away while serving overseas several years earlier. Ryan offered his sincere condolences, his heart heavy with sympathy. Margaret looked into his eyes and gently said, "There's another reason I wanted to talk. I found the small ring box when I helped carry your luggage upstairs. Before you ask my daughter to marry you, there are a few things you deserve to know, too." Ryan stood silently as Margaret's words settled over him. Instead of feeling embarrassed, he now felt deeply concerned. Margaret looked toward the lake before quietly explaining that after Michael's death, Emma had blamed herself for encouraging him to follow his dream of joining the military. Although she rarely spoke about it anymore, the pain had never completely disappeared. Since then, Emma had been terrified of losing the people she loved. Margaret gently told Ryan that if he planned to ask Emma to marry him, he needed to understand that loving her also meant helping her heal from wounds she rarely allowed anyone to see. Ryan listened carefully, realizing this conversation was a gift, not a warning. Margaret smiled warmly and handed Ryan a small wooden box she had brought from inside the house. Inside were several handwritten letters that Michael had written to Emma before leaving for his final deployment. Margaret explained that Emma had never found the strength to read the last letter because she feared it would reopen old heartbreak. "Maybe," Margaret whispered, "the right person can help her finish that chapter." Ryan carefully closed the box, promising he would never pressure Emma but would stand beside her whenever she was ready. Margaret looked into his eyes and quietly said, "Now I understand why my daughter loves you." Ryan felt more honored by those words than any promotion he had ever received. That evening, after Thanksgiving dinner, Ryan invited Emma to walk with him along the quiet lakeshore. The stars reflected across the calm water, while distant laughter drifted from the family gathering inside the house. Ryan gently told Emma about his conversation with her mother and admitted that he now understood how much courage she carried every day. Tears filled Emma's eyes as she finally shared memories of Michael that she had hidden from almost everyone. Together, they opened the final letter for the first time. Michael's last words encouraged Emma to live boldly, love without fear, and never let grief keep her from building a beautiful future. By the time she finished reading, both of them were crying. Ryan reached into his jacket pocket and slowly took out the small velvet ring box he had carried for weeks. Looking directly into Emma's eyes, he said, "Your brother wanted you to keep living, and I want to spend my life helping you do exactly that." He knelt on one knee beside the lake and asked her to marry him. Through happy tears, Emma smiled brighter than Ryan had ever seen before and whispered, "Yes." From the porch, Margaret and David quietly watched the proposal, holding each other's hands as they celebrated the beginning of a new chapter their family desperately needed. 1 year later, Ryan and Emma were married in a small, lakeside ceremony at the same Wisconsin home where everything had changed. During the reception, Emma placed Michael's final letter inside, a memory box beside their wedding 1-2 photographs, honoring the brother who had inspired her to embrace life again. Margaret hugged Ryan and admitted that the day she pulled him aside, she had not wanted to scare him. She simply wanted to know whether the man asking for her daughter's heart was ready to protect it. Watching Ryan and Emma dance together beneath the evening lights, she realized she had received the answer she had hoped for all along, 2-2.